All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet, live on this Friday. Remember our friends over at Caesar Sportsbook. You see the QR code in the top right of your screen. Great giveaways for Saints preseason coming up on August 26th, and then opening to college football weekend in LSU and Florida State. If you want the tickets, you can log on to Caesar Sportsbook, get into the app. If you want to go to the Saints game, the promo code is JCSaints15. If you want to go to the LSU game, the promo code is JCLSU15. If you want to go to both, get yourself 2 email addresses, sign up twice, make a bet on each of them, and you'll be entered to win 4 tickets apiece to Saints Chargers, August 26th, inside the Caesar Superdome. And then September 4th, 4 tickets to LSU Florida State for the Caesar Superdome as well. Love our partnership with WAFB. Not only does it give us a chance to jump on with the morning crew each couple of times each week, and be on WAFB.com/Jordy, where you can find all the content. It also gives us a chance to work alongside friends like Jacques Doucet, who we went to SEC Media Days with. And talking to Jacques, we're going to keep up what we were doing there. Obviously, last week he had Red, Rock, and Blue. This week, LSU football getting started here. But over the next couple of days, hopefully we'll have a plan of what our weekly schedule will look like. But Jacques in studio with us. Good morning, buddy. How are you?
Hey, good morning to everyone. How y'all doing?
Everybody,
morning, sir.
Yes. Before we get into LSU football, what was going on yesterday on the practice field? Red, Rock, and Blue. Another summer come and gone, and another successful weekend, my friend.
Yeah.
Congratulations to you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate Breck and Oak Villa for getting those turf fields, because without those turf fields, we would have never played the tournament. I don't think we even would have started. So with the turf fields, we got rain and we were able to get back on the field. So they made a $3 million investment to Oak Villa, new lights, new turf, and so we had over 80 teams, and I think we cleared the most money we ever have. So that was a great tournament this past weekend.
The rain in South Louisiana over the last 3 weeks. I mean, it's Armageddon type stuff, bro.
The water table is totally saturated.
It's crazy.
I think it's rained every day for the last 3 weeks or something like that.
And not just rained.
Right. It's been
torrentially downpoured. I mean, like into the earth type stuff. JD, you had to love to see the access that we are getting as media members here to the fall camp of LSU. You are you're one of the ones that fights the fight every day, bro. If there is an event, JD is there. I mean, John Brady was saying it in the mid '90s. I mean, Jacques is at everything, and now
you don't miss a second. You're everywhere.
Right. Look, Butch Cobble's here. We're either getting fired or did something good. But this access that Brian Kelly first camp, what do you make of this?
I was thinking about it on the way over here. In my over 2 decades at Channel 9, I don't think we're ever going to have a better grip on the team going into a season in terms of who can do what and who's going to be playing and all this and that. And that's one of the things that I love about college football is the mystery going into the season opener. There's so much mystery where you don't know what's going to happen with the team. But we're going to get to watch both of the scrimmages. You know, I was like, whoa, I don't want to overstate something, but that's major news. I mean,
I just wanted to ask him, like, are you sure?
Yeah. Right. Is this a typo? Is this copy and pasted from the spring? Because when we got to watch in the spring, I was like, wow, this is a lot different. So now we're not going to go to another practice until Monday, I think, but we're going to get to, I think, interview all the coordinators before the year goes. Take that for granted over here with the dynasty you got going. But, you know, we get to talk. I
hear it in the voice.
Where you get to talk to the coordinators. And so, yeah, I mean, it's going to be I think we're going to have a decent grip on who the quarterback's going to be and who can play and who can't. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to the access a lot. And so even yesterday, I don't know if you remember last year, but it was like every afternoon, it was like a perfectly timed pass to a wide receiver. Some storm would come in. And, practice is indoors. No media access today.
I know you guys are in the parking lot, but look, we're not going to let you in today because of the rain.
That happened like a week in a row or something like that, 9 or 10 practices. And so yesterday they let us in. We were up on the catwalk and got to watch a little bit of practice. And so,
any takeaways from day one? I mean, is there anything that you can take away and kind of put towards an opinion of what they will look like come fall?
Well, I think one thing that stuck out is I asked him about Keyshawn Boutte, and he said this is the first time he's ever seen him practice because he didn't practice in the spring, obviously. And he said he's still learning to practice. He said he was 1 or 2 times I had to go over and talk to him. Hey, we got to raise your level up a little bit. but then went on to really compliment him and say he's totally invested. He's worked so hard. And he did say, I think he's got a shot to be the best wide receiver in the country. And I definitely think it's not too much pressure on the guy to say that he could be a finalist for the Blitnikoff. I think he would have been one last year if he wouldn't have got injured against Kentucky.
He was on pace.
So that was a big takeaway. I think you and I talked at SEC Media Days. You had said that Coach Kelly had done a great job at slow playing this quarterback competition
politically
to the public.
Yeah.
And I think he took another step yesterday.
Right.
Saying, hey, look, guys, there's not going to be any separation here until the seventh practice or so. Not until we get into third down. I think that's the way you said, like the first few days, it's first down, it's second down. So not till we get to our third long till we figure out, okay, who can make a pass on 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 5. So don't be coming out here with the microscope kind of watching. So the seventh practice takes us to August 11th or something. Right. So maybe no one transfers.
Just keep going. Just keep reeling you in. Just keep, just chasing the bait. But he's, to me, that is almost a test within the test that he has passed up to this point to get to yesterday with all 4 of them intact.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I still remember the Joe Burrow camp in 2018 when 2 of them left. I think it was McMillan. Who was the other guy? Narcisse. Yeah, I think you're right. 2 of the 4 left. But, and Trey Bradford no longer with the firm. I think the guy's been given every chance in the world.
Yeah.
I don't like it. I mean, every case is different, so I don't want to. But when a guy leaves the program and then you take him back, I don't know if that's always a great idea. Now it's funny. I was going back in the spring. Coach Kelly was complimenting Trey Bradford. Said he's learned how to practice. He's made a lot of improvement. I mean, those little drills they were doing, I mean, they let the running backs run through or whatever, but he looked like he had a nice stride, looked strong and everything. And, I mean, I remember that huge Florida upset in 2020 when they were the, 27-point underdog, Max Johnson's first start. Trey Bradford played a big role in that game. But, separated from the university. That's the first time I've heard that wording before. That was a new way of saying, this guy got kicked out or whatever happened. So.
Severed the ties.
No longer a part of the firm.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, right. I mean, I get the vision in my head of them taking the block lettering off of the brick wall out front. Yeah, no longer Bradford out here. From a running back standpoint, John Emery, it feels like now is his time. If it's not now, it will never be. It feels like, but it feels like mentally, physically, everything. He's he looks ready to go.
Well, I know Shea Dixon comes on this show. I heard Shea Dixon doing an interview yesterday, and he said something like, if you take one guy away from a certain spot where it would really impact you in a negative way, I would say it's John Emery. And I know Coach Kelly has been talking about running back by committee. We're going to play a lot of guys. But really, I think that John Emery, it's his last at bat. Mm-hmm. He's got to come through this year. I think he's got to really show that. I know it was Vanderbilt, but you remember 2020, some of those runs where he just really okay, there's the electricity.
The Alabama run.
The Alabama run, up the sideline in Tiger Stadium. And so, this is it for him. I mean, I thought he looked in shape yesterday. I thought he looked good. And obviously coming off, something that we never see, a guy academically ineligible for an entire season. So, I know running back by committee has sometimes worked. I've been talking a lot about 2020 this year, but I remember 2020 where they're trying to, Chris Curry and Tyron Davis-Price and John, it just didn't work. Now, I think the offensive line had a lot to do with that, but maybe there is a way to play a lot of different guys, keep them engaged. Okay, I know I'm in the game plan. I know I'm going to get 4 or 5 touches. But then there's always the guy that says, "Hey, coach, man, I can't get by on 5 or 8 carries. I need 15 before I'm really juiced up." So it'll be an interesting dynamic. But I'm rooting for John Emery, just like Miles Brennan, kind of a similar story. Guys that have been there a long time, and they really need to emerge this year. Although maybe one of the other guys is going to be the quarterback. I don't know, but for this team to be successful,
the most impressive thing that they've done to me, in my opinion, is rebuild the offensive line to where it is today. I don't know how competitive it is on a 12-game SEC schedule. I don't know, but it looks as if the options that they have provided themselves are a lot more than I thought that they would have at this point. in what they did in the transfer portal, and even the 3 rookies that came in Bordelon, or even 4 in Fitzpatrick, and then obviously Emery Jones and Will Campbell. How do you see that shaking out? And there's a lot of competition up there that I think is going a little unsaid just because of what's happening at quarterback. Brian.
Yeah, I think his quote yesterday was, typically we've got something written in sand at least or in pencil. We don't even have that. I mean, it's just wide open on that offensive line, and there's a lot of talk about cross-training guys in different spots. Got some massive men. I mean, Will Campbell, even the fans who saw the video yesterday said he looks bigger than he looked in the spring.
I agree. I thought he did too.
Does he look bigger than when we saw him at walk-ons in June? Does he even?
Just in pads. Like to see him in that setting, and more, it's around his peers. It's really like standing next to the people. Like these guys standing next to him are all enormous.
Yeah, and
he's swallowing them. I mean, it's just it is. Yeah. It's and he still would be carded everywhere he went. Because he looks
youthful,
young,
16 in the face.
Right, but everything other than that,
everything else, he looks like an all-pro.
Right.
Yeah. Well, you and I at SEC Media Days, I said, I mean, I don't. Obviously, you hope they're going to do big things this year, but I think maybe by year 3 is when Coach Kelly and them are really challenging for something significant. Yeah. And the faces of the program are going to be Will Campbell and Emery Jones.
No doubt.
These are going to be the guys that come to the interview sessions every week. And fans are going to love Will Campbell. He's just says, "Oh well, sir, I'm just doing the best job I can." I mean, he's just so downplays everything about him being like a first-round draft pick and everything. I got a lot to learn.
Hollywood casting of the North Louisiana 5-star prospect. You know what I mean? Hollywood could not cast a better North Louisiana 5-star offensive lineman that comes from the farm. Loves home,
loves to hunt
beer,
fish.
Yeah, what's his dad's name?
His dad's name's Bull.
Bull.
You know what I mean? It's just this guy is the absolute quintessential LSU. I mean, for as much as Quincy Wiggins is on the defensive line, this group, the 15 freshmen that they have, the numbers are not there, but it looks like early on they have connected on a lot of the 15.
I've always said Quincy Wiggins looks like he can just pick you up by the head.
No doubt.
Just
Jacques got hit by a car in Dallas.
Yeah.
He got upended by a moving vehicle and just hopped back up and wanted to play in the game.
Yeah, he's a freak of nature. And Coach Kelly also mentioned Emery Jones yesterday, talking about him. So, Tremont Shorts and Miles Frazier, these guys that came from smaller schools, that's always the challenge. Can I count on you in the swamp? Can I count on you in Jordan-Hare Stadium, first road trip, October 1st or whatever? So those are the questions that are going to be answered. But, I think they've done about as good a job as they could have done getting offensive linemen into the program and finding a way to make this work up front.
Brad Davis said he started Will Campbell at third string the first day of spring. By the end of the first week, he had elevated himself into the first unit. I think that they're probably taking the same approach with Emery Jones. Do you think he starts game 1?
I don't know if he starts game 1. I did read the article in the paper today where, you still got some local kids like, Cordell Thomas and Cam Wire that are getting mentioned and whatnot. But, I mean, I could see it. Yeah. I could certainly see it right off the bat. I could certainly see him starting. I mean, guy wants to be here. Guy loves LSU. Guy grew up in Baton Rouge. Hard worker. He and Will Campbell are like that. I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah, for sure. When you see the wide receivers outside of Keyshawn on this team, I thought yesterday it really was evident of how many playmakers they had. Besh wasn't even there. When you think about
shin splints or something, he's on a bike. When
he comes back, what that 3 wide receiver role will look like, and you've even got Ja'Ray Jenkins that's up there with the first unit. That makes sense, right? I mean, it would make sense if he was out there. Play 1 versus Florida State.
Yeah.
How do you like that position behind Keyshawn?
Well, I definitely think Ja'Ray Jenkins may not be one of the flashiest or, be the burner or whatnot, but I definitely think he's going to be one of the top leaders on the team. I mean, I go back to that. That Texas Bowl was such an awful experience this past year. But he was one of the guys out there. They had this rodeo bowl thing, and he's trying to make the best of the situation and whatnot. And so he stuck it out for many years. So I love Jeray Jenkins. Malik Neighbors is the guy that you always hear has the most confidence in the world. He doesn't care if he's going up against a NFL All-Pro. He thinks he's going to beat him. Brian Thomas did some great things last year. I think he's going to take the next step. There's a lot of talent in that room. I would think that the competition, there's a lot of yapping going on back and forth. Maybe not the Trevor Penning type stuff that we're seeing from the Saints, but I think there's definitely that kind of, they're fighting hard for those spots.
I was going to go there next before we get you out of here, get you some Saints thoughts on what would have been your takeaways, I guess, from the first week and a couple of days on the practice field, and how big of a story it was to get Matthew back.
Yeah, I've been to one. I went Tuesday, and Jameis is showing more confidence in the ability to scramble on the knee. He was making some plays when he was running out of the pocket. Right before the end of practice, threw a beautiful touchdown pass to Deontay Hardy, no longer Harris. And so, it's funny how the two teams, LSU and Saints, always kind of mirror each other in some way. And just like LSU, the Saints, at their wide receiver spot, obviously, stacked. Chris Olave, Jarvis Landry, Michael Thomas starting to finally do some team stuff. And then you throw a guy like Hardy in there and his skill set and things he can do. And, it's going to be interesting. Guys like Traquan Smith and some of those guys, hey, you better get your act together. You may not be here.
I mean, it's
well, he just signed a contract.
It's usual, right? You know this better than I do because you covered more training camps than I have. But at least through the first couple of days of training camp, it's usually the offensive guys that are standing out, and most notably, like the wide receivers. Like I can remember like Robert Meacham and guys that would be at camp where you're like Traquan Smith, where you're like taken away. Like these guys are standing out early. It's rare to have a guy like Paulson Adebo standing out as much as he has early. I mean, it's a weird takeaway early in camp to be talking about DBs, right? Like a guy that you don't necessarily know as well as like a Debo. Like the word coming out of Saints camp is like, it's over. He's cornerback too. Like there's no more competition. This guy, and if they have two lockdown type corners with Lattimore and Debo, it's scary to think how good they could really be on defense.
Yeah, Dennis Allen said, I've been getting a lot of questions about Paulson Adebo, and certainly his teammates have all been saying his confidence level's way up. He knows what he's doing now. Just a lot of osmosis, I guess, from the first year. A lot less thinking, a lot more acting. Yeah. And, I mean, this defense, when you put Tyron back there, Tyron missed the first 6 practices, dealt with his family issue. He's back. A guy like that who's been in the league 10 years and with his skill set, I think he'll be fine, but he still needs to start working with his new teammates. And then you got, Demario Davis, a linebacker and stuff. I mean, you got
Jordan.
What's that?
Cam Jordan.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like, it's just like they're it's scary to think how good they can really be if Adebo is as good as they believe him to be early on in this training camp. I mean, I know it's the third day in pads. I mean, I don't want to say they're Super Bowl favorites with this defense, but if Adebo can lock down a side of the field and you've got Lattimore working the other side with Marcus May and Tyrann Mathieu on the back end with what they've already done in the front 7, it's like, damn.
Yeah, players at every level.
Yeah, Sean Payton, what'd you leave this for?
Yeah, Tom Brady.
Yeah, right.
And it's all dictated, I guess, by the salary cap. Drew was getting so much money, and rightfully so, I guess. But now your quarterback isn't being paid nearly as much. So now you're investing.
Spreading it.
You're spreading it out a little bit more where, some people are like, oh, well, too bad Drew never had this wide receiving core. I'm like, well, it's kind of hard to, you're robbing Peter to pay Paul. Right. I mean, I still remember that, was it a Thursday night? It was a Thanksgiving night game against the Falcons. I think Drew threw 4 touchdown passes, and all 4 guys were undrafted.
That's right. The NFC Championship game, the guy that caught the first touchdown, the tight end, was like Carpenter or whoever it was.
Yeah.
Like the guy, never heard of him.
That's the only game you ever saw him again?
I never heard of the guy.
But
if you want to get him wide receivers, you got to take away offensive linemen, right? You had to keep him protected. What do you want? You want Jari Evans or you want Robert Meacham.
It is crazy to me too. I think I read this yesterday that Marcus Colston is not eligible.
It's crazy
for the Hall of Fame because he never made a Pro Bowl.
It's crazy.
So
it's wild.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times watching from the Saints press box, I'm like, "Ooh, Drew, don't throw that pass." And there's like 4 defenders in there, and Marcus Colston goes up,
pick it out of the air,
make the catch, just like Jimmy Graham did too.
It's a crime, the post life of Marcus Colston's, because he had Mike Thomas follow him up immediately, and he almost looks physically like him, but he's a little bit faster and a little, he's a second round addition of Marcus Colston,
and almost penalized for not being an idiot. Not being one of these wide receivers
outspoken,
who draws all this attention to himself and what I mean, he wouldn't say 2 words. I mean, he was a good interview, but he was never draw attention to himself, diva. So
before we get you out of here, Trey Guy has a question, and you can answer this better than I can. You were out there yesterday. Other than Frank Wilson and the 2 coordinators, House and Denbrock, what other staff member jumped out to you, or did anybody make an impact to you on day one? There's so much to take in on day one. Did a position coach jump out to you?
Well, I'll just say this. I got it on good authority. We know that Jake Peets didn't go well last year, but I know that Jake Peets wanted to hire Cortez Hankton as the guy last year.
Yeah,
he thought very highly of him. And I guess it worked out the best for everyone. Cortez won his national championship and now is at LSU with a lot more shelf life than he would have come last year. So I think that's a guy that's going to translate in recruiting and coaching these guys up and whatnot. So I'm impressed with him.
Jacques Doucet, of course, you can find him on WAFB sitting on the desk 6 and 10 o'clock. What's your schedule like?
LSU is doing player interviews tonight at 6:30.
Okay,
so we'll have that tonight at 10 o'clock, and I'm sure we'll have something good at 6. And we're continuing to preview high school football. Southern Jacques, Kevin Baptiste is probably out on the Southern practice field right now, keeping up with Eric Dooley and company, LSU's second opponent. So
that was great B-roll he had from the practice field yesterday. He was standing right behind Dooley as he was addressing his team. I mean, it was
chewing them pretty good.
It was really good content. And as we introduced at SEC Media Day, our relationship and our partnership with WAFB gives us an opportunity to work alongside all of the great people over there, including Jacques. And it was fun to travel over to SEC Media Day with him and send some content back home. We'll be doing that throughout the football season here in studio and back in at WAFB headquarters, and we're really looking forward to it, man. Thanks for waking up with us, bro.
Yeah, I'll come back and do an hour with on Harvey Williams next time. I could definitely do that.
Is that for you and I, that's the golden age of LSU football.
First
right?
LSU game was 1987. LSU beat Florida 13-10. Gators missed a 37-yard field goal at the end. Harvey Williams at running back. Emmitt Smith, a young freshman.
Is that Chris Carrier who made the game-winning interception?
He did make a pick in the game.
Yeah.
But Florida, back then, they had these thing called ties, kids, where right. If they would have made the field goal, Florida at the end, they would have been a tie game. The week after the famous Ohio State tie in Tiger Stadium was the week after.
Kerwin Bell, quarterback.
Kerwin Bell, yeah. Before he was the mustache before mustaches.
He had a great stash.
Galen Hall, the big coach.
He wore the Sansa belts. He wore the Sansa belt bike pant.
Yeah. What Condon used to reference with the LSU fans. You got the purple bike shorts and he had the blue.
Pull your
orange
tube socks up and your Sansa belts. Hey, Richard, Jamie Howard's outside. He's looking for you. Jacques, great to see you.
Thanks,
buddy.
man. Appreciate it.
We'll be back with more of the Jordy Culotta Show, driven and powered by Go Chevrolet. Don't forget, daily, we're brought to you by our friends over at Edward Jones. Go see Daniel Newman today. He's located out in Central. Let him help you out with all of your financial questions that you may have. If you have financial questions about 401k, investments, and as we always remind you, if you're within the industrial sector down here in Louisiana or wherever you're listening to us, whether it's Houston, Lafayette, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, anywhere that you're catching this program, let Daniel Newman help you out. Daniel.Newman at edwardjones.com. Daniel.Newman at edwardjones.com. We'll be back. Nathan Velasquez will be here. We are also eating this morning. Compliments of our friends over at Iverstein's for our Foodie Friday. Josh is over here. We'll find out what's on the menu before we get out of here at 9 a.m. Make sure to hit that like button, share button, comment button. More Jordy Culotta Show rolling on. Compliments of Go Chevrolet.